car seat. The pale bone of his exposed skull reflected back the golden sunlight streaming in through the transparent shell of the helicopter like fire. I stared at his tattered body, and for my trouble was gifted with the spectacle of cloth-covered skin and muscle sloughing off his right arm bone before slipping past the seat and pooling on the floor with the rest of his already melted flesh. I was glad the whir of the blades made it impossible to hear anything above their din, so I wasn't subjected to the sound of Jarvis disintegrating before my eyes. "Jarvis?" I whispered, my ability to speak compromised by the sight of him. From the collarbone up, he was skeleton, the flesh having melted away like butter in a pan, leaving only pristine bleached white bone in its stead. For some strange reason, Jarvis's eyeballs had remained fixed inside their sockets, but since his eyelids and eyelashes had fallen away with the rest of the delicate skin of his face, it was hard to gauge what my friend might be thinking, trapped inside his putrefying body. I knew he was still sentient by the wild twitching of his eyeballs inside the smooth orbital bones of his skull, but I really needed the other aspects of the face, facial muscles, eyebrows, etc., to give me the emotional context. It's amazing what your mind decides to settle on during times of high stress, I thought to myself, as I tried to remain clinical about my friend's situation, as if that were really possible. Use the bathroom. Another piece of Jarvis's flesh detached, denuding his right shoulder of skin and muscle. Like a fool, I tried to catch the blubbery stuff in my hands before it could splat on the floor, but it was no use. The subcutaneous... Is this just gross? Should I, do something? Should I do chapter 1?
Nick likes it.
Pick another chapter.
Should I... You like it, or should I... Yeah. All right.
They probably love it.
Okay, the subcutaneous fat was as slick as baby oil, and the gelatinous skin and muscle slithered right through my fingers, splattering against the leather of the adjacent seat like tallow. Jarvis's metamorphosis was moving at an accelerated rate, and I deduced that his skeleton would be stripped clean of flesh within the hour. A school of piranhas couldn't have done a more thorough job if they tried. Jarvis's skin loss problem was going to need a very quick fix. The word superglue kept flashing in my mind, or I was going to be left dealing with a silent skeleton instead of a helpful fawn. What do? I thought, frantically racking my brain for some kind of an answer. But I didn't have any experience with a situation like this. In the pilot seat beside me, Hyacinth spoke abruptly into her headset, gesturing at me wildly, but in my freaked-out state, I couldn't understand what she wanted. "What are you saying?" I yelled over the cacophony of the helicopter blades, but Hyacinth only shook her head and gestured again, pointing down to the floor of the cockpit where my headset lay, twisted in its own cord. I swallowed hard, then reached down and scooped up the offending thing, sliding it back over my head. "Can't do anything for him right now," Hyacinth said, the last half of her sentence crackling into my ears as I eased the headset in place. "Please stop freaking out and collect yourself. You're behaving like a child." I started to protest, but I knew she was right. I was acting like a little shit. I needed to calm down and put everything into perspective. Jarvis's face may have fallen off, but that didn't give me permission to lose my shit. See, it doesn't matter where I read, there's dirty bits. "What's happening to him?" I asked, aiming my words into the headset's protruding mouthpiece, having a bit more control over my hysteria now. There was a moment of radio silence, and I assumed Hyacinth had decided not to answer me, but then she began to speak. "He was dead, Callie, and you roused him out of death to do your bidding." "He can't be dead," I said, my voice rising. "He's immortal. You can't kill an immortal with a blow to the head. Besides, he was healing. I saw it myself, and FYI, if I were going to rouse someone out of death, I think I would know about it." "Yes, I would hope that that would be the case, but you're very unskilled in the art of death, so who knows what you're capable of," Hyacinth said, her disembodied words like thoughts being implanted into my brain. "And what you saw earlier was the beginning of the turning process. You should at least know from your own experiences that You should at least know from your own experiences that immortals don't heal that quickly. As much as I hated to admit it, I deserved the disparaging tone Hyacinth was using on me. I was a kindergartner when it came to the supernatural world. I knew next to nothing about the subject. I know being the daughter of death should have made me an expert on that kind of stuff, but I don't think you can ever learn about something you're not interested in. Like in school, you see kids who hate being there, and no matter what you do, you just can't inspire them to... I'm spitting now. You just can't inspire them to retain the information they're supposed to be learning. As far as I could tell, you had to want knowledge. You had to be really interested in a subject in order to absorb it. And the last thing I had ever been interested in as a kid, or as an adult, was death and the supernatural world it encompassed. But because I had experienced the healing process of an immortal firsthand, I banged myself up pretty good here and there growing up. I did recognize it didn't happen as rapidly as what I'd observed in Jarvis. If, like Hyacinth said, this turning thing was really happening to Jarvis, then it explained a lot. Okay, say it's true, I said, and Jarvis is turning. What does that actually mean? Hyacinth sighed, which translated into a loud hiss in my headset. I won't know for certain this is what is truly transpiring until we arrive at Seaverge. We're going home? I interrupted, excitement and relief flooding my body. Thank God! Let me finish, Hyacinth said in a sharp tone, deflating the good vibes I'd just conjured up. As I said, I won't know the veracity of this hypothesis until I can verify that your father is no longer among us. What? I cried, the meaning of her words like a sharpened stake plunging into my soul. I may have been oblivious at times, but I wasn't an idiot. I understood what she was driving at. Callie, you can't turn the dead unless you are death. Ooh. So, wasn't a sexy bit, but there was definitely some dirty words. That's good.